The singular third-person pronouns are he, she, and it. So what happens when you don't know the gender of that third person? I'm Amy Lee Strickland, and you're watching Red Ink. The debate over what pronoun to use in this case has come to the forefront in recent years. Thanks to feminism, we know that it's biased to assume that every unknown person is a he. This assumes that the default is male and that females are the other. And that's just not cool. It's already understood from most academic writing in the English language that assuming gender isn't okay, even if it's what you were told to do in high school Spanish class. So what are the alternatives? Well, writing he/she over and over again can be exhausting and kind of repetitive. Not to mention it just doesn't flow well in narrative. In repeated usage, you could alternate. This is something that you see in the role-playing books of White Wolf, like Vampire the Requiem. And you have the choice to use indefinite pronouns. But sometimes for art's sake, we want to keep a certain sentence structure and not flip it around awkwardly to avoid breaking rules. Several people have suggested gender-neutral pronouns for the English language. Sweden recently added hen for the official gender-neutral pronoun for the Swedish language, as opposed to han for male and han for female, and I apologize to anybody who is a native Swedish speaker. I am not, and I'm probably butchering your language. But for most of the English language, those gender-neutral pronouns are created for people who don't want to define their own gender in terms of male and female. For people who want a third choice, not for writers who simply don't want to reveal the gender of the singular person. In English speech, people have been using they for this purpose as a singular catch-all since before the time of Shakespeare. There's a lot of precedent for this usage, and I tend to agree with it. In fact, this usage can be traced back as far as Chaucer in the 1400s. Other greats such as Lewis Carroll, Oscar Wilde, George Eliot, and Shakespeare himself have used they as a singular neutral pronoun. It's even in 1600s editions of the Oxford English Dictionary. Shh. Don't tell the grammar Nazis. There's not really a great reason not to use they as a singular gender-neutral pronoun. We're used to pronouns serving double roles already. As the usage has been in classic English literature for well over 400 years, and in the colloquial language of every English-speaking country for at least that long, we can expect that native English speakers will know and accept its meaning. In fact, most of them will hardly notice its usage. And we already have precedent for words that are singular in form but plural in meaning, such as everyone. In fact, it seems that he, as the prescriptive use for the third-person singular pronoun in cases of gender ambiguity, that argument comes from the 18th and 19th century. And while those centuries gave us the American Constitution and antiseptic surgery, they also gave us Victorian mental asylums and air pollution. Of all the reasons to do a thing a certain way, they did it 200 years ago is probably the worst one. So tell me what you think. Do you use they, or do you have a different solution? Tell me in the comments below, and remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching. This has been Red Ink.